All right. Hello. Okay, I am not going to be doing this with my face too much. I'm going to be sharing my screen to help you through the steps in the videos that we talked about. So let me go and do that. I'm going to share the screen. What this video will do is encompass pretty much day 1 through day 8. And I hope that this answers a lot of questions that you're having. So I just want to put some audio to it so that hopefully that will help you. So here we go. I'm going to try to get right into it. We go to Geogebra, and I'm going to start from scratch. So we're going to go right to New, Geogebra Math Calculators. And it takes a little while to load up, so that wasn't too bad. So what I've done is day 1, I uploaded some videos that showed an artist on YouTube tracing some art with a single curve without lifting the pen off the paper. It's digital art. What I'm going to do is just borrow from that. That's what I did with the previous thing, so I'm just going to go to that. So I already set it up. It's this squirrel. Yeah, squirrel. And what I want to do, let's see, hide that for a minute. What I want to do is take a snapshot of this. So screen capture that. And you can do this freehand. You can do your own curves. I'm coming up with something that will help me to draw something that I can't really draw myself because I'm not that artistic. So saving it over here, I'm going to now use this screenshot to put into Geogebra. So let me go over here. I'm going to come over this pull down menu, image, choose file. And where was that? Was it in documents? Let's see. It was in desktop. Okay. So we're going to go to desktop. Details. We'll sort by date. Should be at the top. Yeah. Okay. So open, put it in there. And that's the image I'm going to trace. So I'm going to enlarge it a little bit. Let's bring it over. Okay, and the other thing I found helps is if you right-click, go to Settings, under Color, if you choose to do it this. Now, so a lot of you have passed this step, so you don't have to worry about it. But I faded it out a little bit, made it more opaque. So now you go up to this tool, Pen. Where should we start? Well, it starts here. And where does it end? We'll start here and then end there. So I'm going to, at the very end, I'm going to have to close it back up. So I'm going to get creative and come back and retrace the curve. So let me zoom in on this a little bit. It makes it easier. So it doesn't have to be perfect when you do this. So I'm using my trackpad on the laptop. It should resemble a squirrel. All right, so come down and up. What it's really doing is it's putting a bunch of points one after another so close together you can't really see them. It turns out that it's hundreds of points, maybe even 1,000. So it's more than enough. We don't need that many actually to represent this image. So you'll see there's a step where I basically take every 10th point, and after I'm done here, oh, I was a little missed the curve there, but that's okay. So we're going to come down here, make his tail. Okay, now I need to loop back. So I'm going to do this, come back up here, and what I'm going to do is loop over here. Good enough. Okay, so that's the curve. Come back to GeoGebra to move. This is the image. I don't need that anymore, so I'm going to unshow it or hide it. All right, so it looks kind of sad, but it's okay because when I recreate this image with the idea of reconstructing with circles, moving around other circles, it actually smooths everything out. So the next step is you come over here to this panel on the left, which is called the algebra view, and you type in Vertex. Is that right? No. So it's curly bracket. And in the curly bracket, you type Vertex. And this is a command that's going to take all of the points on that curve and put it into a list. And then command. Yeah, I should spell it right. Okay. Vertex. There we go. And enter. So what it's done is it has placed all those points right over the curve. I can hide the stroke one and the image is still there, right? And you can almost see that there's a lot of little points. Next command. All right, we want to do a sequence. And the sequence is a command that allows you to go piece by piece in your list. Notice that they're all points right here. So what I'm going to do in this command is try to pull out every 10th point. Well, before I do that, let's just see how long it is. So the length of L underscore 1 underscore, you have to hit shift dash next to the 0 button. So there's 874 points in that list up here. So we want to make it smaller by doing the sequence command. Now, the sequence command is you type in the parentheses L1, which is the name of the list up here. Now I did underscore. Now I have to come back, right arrow key to come back out of the underscore or a subscript. Now you type in, if you're going to do every 10th point, 10 times K. And some of you were saying that the font was too small and you had trouble seeing, so maybe I can enlarge this in a minute. A, comma, 1, comma, A divided by 10. Okay, so basically what this command line is doing is it's taking every 10th element, because L1 would be number 1, so L 10 times, when K is 1, it'd be the 10th point in this list. And then when K turns to 2, it's going to count up from K, starting at 1. It's going to go to 2 and 3 and 4, all the way up to 874 divided by 10. That just allows me just to pull out every 10th point and enter. Now, if I do the length of this, I'm going to call it capital N equals length of L2, enter. Notice it rounded it off to 87, right? Because it's got to take a discrete number of points. So 87 points. Now, if I were to hide, let's hide this. Hard to tell that that's a squirrel anymore. But again, what we're going to be doing is connecting the dots with a trace or a curve. So when we connect the dots, it should look like what we want. So that's the next step. Now, what did we do after that? All right. The next step was to make a slider. So I'm going to move this down. Over here at the top, you see slider. And we're going to do integer, and I'll call it F for frequency. F stands for frequency. We're going to go from 1 to, let's see, actually it's going to go from 0. And now we'll do n. Ultimately, we're going to make that n minus 1, I think. But so when you move this slider, it goes up to, what did we say, 87, right? Because I set it from 1 to n is 87. Whoops. All right, bring it back down. You can always change the settings, right? If you right-click, pull down this menu, and you type settings. This slider is going, again, 0 to n. I'm going by ones, by the way. Increment means go up by 1. I could go by 0.1, which, for now, let me put it in as 0.1. You'll see what that does. Over here. So now we're going by tenths, right? And eventually I'll change that back to 1, but we'll keep it that way for now. All right. Next command. The next command in this was, I believe we're going to now do, is a pretty long command. And let me change the font size. So I think that would help. Settings 16 point, maybe 24. We'll make it really big. Okay. And I can make this smaller. Actually, it's more like a squirrel. I make it smaller. Okay. So now down here, this command is, and I'll explain as we go, sequence. So I'm going to do L_3 equals, now sequence again. Oops, sequence. And parentheses. All right. We're going to type in L subscript 2 underscore to come out of the underscore, type in K plus 1. Now what we're doing is we're multiplying each point in the list by an exponential. And actually it's a complex number, a complex exponential. You can go to the keyboard down here and find it. F of x, it's e to the, okay, so that's what I just clicked here. It's a little pad, calculator pad. Now what goes in? It goes negative, this is an exponent, all right? Negative I is over here. Times is, you can use times on the keyboard here, or you can do shift 8 times 2 times pi. There's pi right there. Now this is a pretty advanced math concept, so I plan to get into this, and I'm going to have you explore this more. But for now, we're just going to type it in, and we'll see what it does at the end. So notice I put in K. If you can't see it, it's small type. Even though I enlarge the font, it's K over capital N. All of this is in an exponent of E. Now to get out of the exponent, I'm using the arrow key on the keyboard, the right arrow. Comes down to normal, and I put comma, K, comma, 0, comma, N minus 1. So, if all is well, okay, that looks good because I'm getting what I expected to get, which are complex numbers. Now remember this from algebra. When you have a complex number, you have an I. It's a real part plus an imaginary part. So you have each point in the list basically got multiplied by this, or to this exponential, and we got a new set of points. But since we're multiplying, and I missed something in here, I just realized. I'm supposed to put negative 2 times pi times f times k. All right, so correction. Automatically put parentheses in there. That's interesting. Enter. All right, now what I'm going to do is come back up here, hide this, L2. Okay. Notice it's still there. It's because it's L3. When it's at 0, it's L3. But now if I back to the pointer tool, if I move this, what's going to happen, crazy looking, it's winding it around a circle. Do you notice how it's sort of winding? And that's why I went by tenths, because when I go by whole numbers, I'm just hitting the arrow key on my keyboard, and it's turning and turning and turning. It's winding around. This winding action is how we're going to, okay, ultimately, this is going to allow us to find each circle radius length, and each circle, for each radius, the starting position, meaning the angle that it makes from the origin. And that's the key, finding the right combination of circles that will essentially rotate around each other. And I put a video in on day one that it shows that more in more detail. So I suggest go back and look at that if you're not sure what I'm talking about. But this right here, it's kind of cool. It's very scattered. And when you come back all the way to the end, it's back to the original figure, because what it's done is it's taken every point, 87 windings is right back to the beginning. This is why we call it a periodic function. It's a periodic, even in this frequency setting, it's periodic, meaning it returns back to its original position. Okay, so that was a big step right there. Okay, what's next? So after this L3, I think that was like day 3 or something. I'm not really clear about which day was which. Okay, so hold on, let me figure out the next step. All right, what we're gonna do next is we're going to capture the average of all of these points. Okay, so we're gonna come down here and we're gonna type in C equals parentheses mean. What's this? Pop up. Whale murder caught on tape. That's not very pleasant. Okay, mean parentheses. Okay, another set of nested parentheses. X parentheses again. Okay, so you know what mean is. You learned mean, median, mode back in middle school. What a mean does is it takes an average, right? So that's basically what I'm doing, is I'm taking an average of the list, but I'm doing this in coordinates. So X means I'm taking the X coordinate of the points in this list. Okay. Now the X coordinate happens to be the real part, and the Y coordinate is going to be the imaginary part. And that's an important concept with with complex numbers. So anyway, X sub L sub 3. Try to talk less and type more here. So we got next comma. Notice there are 2 parentheses here and then a comma. This is how you would write X and Y coordinates for a point, right? So the next is Y. No. Oh, that deleted everything. I got to start over again. All right, mean X sub L sub 3 and double comma. There we go. And then back to, no, I didn't want Y there. Mean parentheses Y sub L subscript. Okay, and enter. Okay, good. It worked. It doesn't always work the first time because sometimes you miss a parentheses or something, but it worked. This we're going to call point C. It's in here. It's actually right there. I turn it red. I think we can change the color of this. It helps it to stand out from the rest of the points. So let's do that. So you go over to settings. Where is it? Oh, it's here. I just got to bring it out. Color red. There it is. And you can leave the label on or you can hide the label. I'm going to hide the label. Okay. So what is it doing? Let's wind it again. So you see that the red point's moving. Because it makes sense. It's the average of all the points. It's like the center. I called it the center of mass in the video. So maybe gives it a bit more of a visual. If all those points had a mass, there would be one point which would be basically right. It would balance all of the points out. And you can see I'm just winding it, and you see the center of mass changes. Well, that center of mass is really the key component of this whole project, I would say. This is called, in more advanced lingo, this is the Fourier coefficient. This becomes the Fourier coefficient of all of your circles that will be combined to remake your curve. Okay, So that was a big step. Got the center of mass. Next. What we're going to do is put in a command now to recreate or remake a new list. Okay, so we're going to right click on point C. Okay, we're going to come into scripting. All right, and the script that we have to write, and let's see, I'm just looking it up here without changing the screen. I just want to make sure that I type it in correctly the first time. Okay, so let me pause this video because I need to check this.